So I wanted to make a quick video on my experience with the Ohlins front and rear upgrade for the 250L. So this is a 2020. I did the front forks first with the Ohlins kit. Not bad generally. The worst part is in the fork that has the spring. There is a C-clip that you have to get out, and that C-clip is on the outside wall. So that C-clip, the more you try to make it bigger, the more it digs in to that hole on the outside of the wall. So you have to go with a little scooper and try to get it underneath, and that's a huge pain in the ass. That was almost sheer luck that I got that. But once you do that, generally the rest of the install is okay. I guess I'll note, make sure you mark with some kind of tape or measure how far these forks are located in relation to the triple clamps. So when you put them back on, they'll be at the same height and also level with each other so that you don't get any binding here at the wheel. So that wasn't bad. Now we're going to the rear shock, which I just installed day 3 of this. So this was a huge pain in the ass, and I would definitely not recommend, if you have an ABS model like I have, you'll have this bracket. I wouldn't recommend getting this if you have an ABS model. I know Race Tech makes a spring like this, or a shock like this rather. It will have a piggyback reservoir, so it will live somewhere in here with the shock itself, and that would have been way better. So the main issue is this cylinder, you have to get through this hole, and the instructions, at least the ones I got from SRC Moto, where I got this kit from, they tell you to bend this kind of at this line, to bend that back 45 degrees. Now, what you have behind here is an ABS line which attaches itself to that bracket that you have to bend 45 degrees. Now, I don't know if it comes out. You're not bending this sucker 45 degrees, man. That's a thick bitch. I've been banging on it with a hammer for like 20 minutes and didn't go anywhere. So, the way you install this without jacking all that up is you actually have to take the chain off. So, sprocket, take the whole chain off, and then as well as this rubber chain guide, I guess. So this one, screw up here, same underneath, and then somewhere here, top and bottom, there's like a little dingus, and it goes into a little hole in the swing arm. Taking it out is not bad. Putting it back in, you kind of have to use a tiny little screwdriver to help that little dingus go in its hole. So once I took all that off, this thing barely fit through here, and it was like you have to have it just the right angle, and it barely went through. So once that's through, the rest of this is pretty easy. The thing that will affect everybody, whether you buy this one or the Race Tech, is this stupid screw. You can see I finally have it installed. That's the top of the shock. So coming in from this way, if you try to do that, you'll end up hitting the back of the battery box, and it's near goddamn impossible to get your wrench across. It's a 17 millimeter, by the way, is what you need for that nut. 17 millimeter, and when I got it off, I didn't even use the 17 millimeter. I used the 16, and I just had to jam it away because I couldn't get this open wrench to actually go on that sucker. So kind of got that open by pure luck, and then trying to get this installed again. So you can't just thread the bolt through and put the nut on because you don't have that kind of clearance between the battery box. So you have to kind of hold that nut with a wrench and try to slide the bolt through while twisting it, and you're also having to lift this wheel up a little bit to take the pressure off so that the bolt can slide through. So that's a two-man job at least. I couldn't do it by myself. I tried very hard. I had somebody help me hold the wrench while I went from the other side and screwed in the bolt while also playing around with this back wheel trying to take the tension off. So the thing you can do to make your life easier there is to remove the Evap canister that lives here. I already threw it away somewhere, but that's this big old black canister that lives here. So that's actually a really easy thing to remove. I followed Jake the garden snake, so he had a 300L, but the instructions were the same. I didn't take off the other thing. I think it's called like the pair system or something. It takes air from the air box and vents it to the outtake to burn the unspent gas, I guess, that makes its way to the exhaust. So I didn't mess with that, but this Evap canister connects to the gas tank, and I guess the fumes from the gas tank, it runs through some like carbon canister that lives here. But once you take that out, you now have a whole new angle you can take to get to that nut. So pretty much you'll go from this way instead of from this way. And even just, trying to, so, it goes in there, but ultimately the top of this wrench is now being super hindered by the back of this battery box in a way that I can't even get the wrench to go on this nut, because if you'll see, this nut has a collar, right? So the wrench keeps hitting that collar instead of just getting on nicely to the actual hex part of the bolt. But if you come in kind of from this angle instead, let me see if I can even show you quickly. You can come in like this, and now you have a much better way of working that top shock bolt. So yeah, to summarize again, front Ohlins suspension, pretty good. I have the heaviest spring in here. Not a night and day difference. I did ride it with the stock rear shock when I installed this. Not a night and day difference, but there is a difference. It is more stiff. It definitely needs it, and as well as you also change the fork oil in the process, which is always good to do. Yeah, like I said, the biggest pain in the ass with this is there's this little clamp, and it's constantly wanting to expand itself into an outside tube, so it's within that tube, and you have to fish it out, and that sucks. There's videos on how to do that. Just keep playing with it, you'll eventually get it. This one, man, oh man. Yeah, those SRC motor instructions to bend that's a complete joke, man. But if you take the chain off, the sprocket, the chain, you remove this, then you have like just enough clearance to get this through. Because this, just because you get this side through, it gets a little bit thicker right here. So you have to make sure you can slide the whole thing through. But yeah, now it's in. It's not touching here, not touching there. Very close, but shouldn't be rubbing. And taking this whole Evap canister out, that was great. That was really easy. Let me see if I got the tools right. A few zip ties. I got one of these. There is a plug, which I've now zip tied up there, but you just have to short that guy out with one of these. I've seen people use like paper clips or whatever else and wire. I just found this in O'Reilly's. You stick one prong in one hole, one in the other hole, And then that back piece of there, you can kind of bend with some pliers or something just to make it flat, tape it up, and then hide it over there. And again, this is all in Jake the Garden Snake's video on his 300L, but the steps are the same for the 200L. And again, if you don't have the ABS model, you won't have this bracket, so you won't have to go through all this bullshit that I did. So yeah, hope it helps. Good luck.